Howdy, folks. Welcome to So Bad It's Good. This is your pal Ryan, and this is your Friday episode. Oh God, you guys, we did it. It's the end of the week. Oh, I got to Thursday this morning. I didn't think we were going to make it. And here we are, Thursday night, and this is my final episode of the week. I still have the Patreon episodes, but this is the last thing I have to do. And then I could potentially go to bed at a reasonable time, hopefully like 11 o'clock. And then tomorrow is kind of a day off, and I can finally go see one battle after another because you guys are sick of hearing me talk about the new Paul Thomas Anderson film. But I thought the tickets were for today. It's actually for tomorrow. Not that you need to, or Friday, today. It's Thursday. Anyways, sorry, you guys. I'm a little tired, a little loopy. Haven't been getting good sleep the last couple of days. But no, guys, that just means we're going to have extra fun today. That means I'm going to be extra stupid and silly. And hopefully you need that as much as I need that. This is going to be a Real Housewives of Orange County recap. I did watch the episode again. I've been dogging this week's episode a couple times on this show already. But I have to say, I watched it tonight. And I still didn't like it, but I found it funnier than I did the other time that I watched it. And we'll talk a little bit about Real Housewives of Miami, just going over the big surprise and some of my other noticings from this episode. How are you? Did this week kick your ass too? My God, it kicked my ass. And today, I was up so early. I did a Instagram live for Katie Couric Media with my friend Sarah talking about The Golden Bachelor, which you can find, I think, on my Instagram and Katie Couric Media's. If you watch The Golden Bachelor this season, it's a trip, man. This dude, Mel, he's the Golden Bachelor, but he did this doofus thing, and he went on a podcast before they started filming and said he wants a younger woman, and that's not the conceit of the Golden Bachelor. So the first two episodes are just him profusely apologizing for having said this on a podcast. He must have gotten in so much trouble with ABC because they invest so much money in these shows, and especially with the Golden Bachelor, you want to believe that, looks and age, as you get older, you get past a point of caring about superficial things. And then here's Mel going, no, you don't. Men are still lascivious for younger ladies. But it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable. So I was on that. Had a meeting that went really good. Hopefully I'll be able to tell you more about that at some point. I was on Gabbing with Gib with our pal Gibson Johns, who I love. We had a great conversation about ranking all of the Housewives franchises, which turned out to be a lot of fun. Sometimes with those open-ended questions, it's like that question of who's your favorite housewife. To me, that's an impossible question, and it changes from month to month for me. But this, I thought it was going to be an impossible question, and it turned out to be a really fun conversation. So go support Gibson. He's fantastic. And then what else did I do? I did a bunch of other things. I forget, you guys. I forget. There was something else I wanted to tell you. Oh, that's what it is. I made this TikTok video about Lisa Barlow and the signs she made saying dismissed on this week's Salt Lake City. And I made this video just saying, oh my God, the audacity of Lisa Barlow, but saying that I loved her, but just the audacity and that she did this and she didn't answer really a single question. But I wanted those poster boards on t-shirt. I said I would buy a commemorative book. And I think I posted it on Instagram as well. But on TikTok, Lisa Barlow, she didn't like it, but she bookmarked it, which is scarier than a like. Bookmark means you're going to come back to it. Or you need this as evidence. I don't want to catch a lawsuit from Lisa Barlow. But I will say, if I did catch a lawsuit from Lisa Barlow, this week's episode, she made me comfortable saying getting lawsuits is just part of the biz. It's just part of the biz. So Lisa, if you're listening, I don't agree with a lot of the things that you do, but I love you as a housewife. So I'm sorry, and you're welcome. That's what I have to say. So today, Taylor Swift's album, The Life of a Showgirl, comes out. In fact, I guess it comes out in like 20 minutes if they're releasing New York time, because it's like 8:38 right now. But I got to do this. I can't stop and listen no matter how much I want to. So I'll save that tomorrow for my hike. But prepare for like Taylor Swift insanity this weekend. Uh, I'm scared for the discourse. I was already seeing things today that saying like one of the tracks she calls out Charlie XCX on. I don't know. I'll wait till I wait till I hear it, and then we'll go from there. But this is also the weekend that the Taylor Swift movie, or like the music videos, are showing in movie theaters everywhere, and they're projecting just the music videos alone at movie theaters to make $35 million just for the movie theater ticket sales for Taylor Swift. So for a little perspective, last week, the number one movie was that One Battle After Another, and that only made $22 million. 2 music videos by Taylor Swift will bring in $35 million. That's the projected earnings. But I hope it's a good album. I hope it's fun. You know, I always get scared when somebody is at like this zenith of their career, that like, what if it's not good? What if it's not good? The pressure has got to be immense. Truly, it's got to be really scary to see, because at some point, I mean, you think about any kind of artist, they eventually make something that does not connect. There is like a certain amount of time. Just think about any of your favorite bands, or even like rock bands, dance, whatever. At some point, you know, even like I used to be really into U2. There was a point like U2 still releases new albums and they just don't connect the way those older albums do. And it doesn't mean like they're still amazing live. They're still all that. But I always wish that could be studied, because at some point there is a fall off, not with their talent or their persona, but just the work itself, the music or the movies. It just doesn't connect with an audience the way it once did. So I'm very curious if that will ever happen for Taylor Swift. Who knows? Maybe she is the one artist in the history of time that will not happen to. But anyways, also, this is crazy. We did a news story about this a couple months ago, but the Golden Globes, which I believe are going to be in January of this year, they added a new category. So they've been adding categories to try to make it like kind of hipper and try to get like better viewership when it airs. And they announced earlier this year that they were going to have a Best Podcast Award at the Golden Globes. Yeah, I used to just recognize TV and film, but now they're recognizing podcasting. And they announced tonight the 25 podcasts announced as eligible for a Golden Globe. Just think about how insane this was. And yeah, turns out So Bad It's Good was 26. I just missed it. I missed it by that much, you guys. So hopefully next year will be my year. But these are the podcasts that the Foreign Critics Association will be voting for. Now, this is a real wild list. 2020 from ABC News. I guess they have a podcast. 48 Hours from CBS News. Guess they have a podcast. Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard. Call Her Daddy. Candace. Is that Candace Dillard Bassett from Real Housewives? No, I think that's... Oh, that's, Candace, the right wing. Yeah, okay, Candace. Crime Junkie. Okay, I heard of that. Dateline NBC has a podcast. That's up for consideration. Good Hang with Amy Poehler. That's awesome. Morbid. I believe that's another true crime podcast. Mr. Ballin podcast. Strange, Dark, and Mysterious Stories. I have never heard about the Mr. Ballin podcast. We have Pardon My Take is up for a nomination. Pod Save America is up. Rotten Mango. I've never heard of that podcast. The Sean Ryan Show. Smartless with Justin Bateman and that podcast. Stuff You Should Know is up for a nomination. The Ben Shapiro Show. The Bill Simmons podcast. The Daily from the New York Times. The Joe Rogan Experience. The Megyn Kelly Show. The Mel Robbins podcast. The Tucker Carlson Show. This past weekend with Theo Vaughn and Up First from NPR. Listen, I don't listen. I will say, I've told you this many times. I start my day and I will always listen to Up First from NPR. It's like a 15-minute. It gives you 3 news stories of the day. I listen to that every day. And then I will say I have listened to a bunch of episodes of Good Hang with Amy Poehler. I don't listen to it every week, but every time I do listen to it, I always love it. So I know every episode I usually love of that. So in my heart, Good Hang with Amy Poehler should be the winner. So I don't know how whittled down this list will be, but you got to imagine they want to make an impact in terms of getting younger viewers and viewers in general to tune in. So I imagine Call Her Daddy will make the final list. I'm trying to think, one of these right-wing podcasts, you're going to pick somebody. I bet the Joe Rogan Experience. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see which 5 podcasts will be eligible. But it's insane to think that Alex Cooper or Joe Rogan will be standing up on that stage accepting an award next to like DiCaprio and stuff. But that's the way the industry is headed. Who would you vote for? What other podcasts do you listen to? And by the way, the shameful thing here is if they were ever to honor a Bravo podcast, you got to go with Watch What Crappens. They've been doing it the longest. They've been doing it the best. They're, like first to market, all of that stuff. And it is interesting. Even though I think a lot of these Bravo podcasts, like myself and a lot of others, we talk about general pop culture. We are sometimes treated like the redheaded stepchild of the podcasting industry. I know, and I'm not even complaining. I'm not really even talking about myself, but you just kind of notice that. And we get really large audiences, which is like so amazing because there's so many people that like the same stuff that we all like. But it is funny when you tell somebody that doesn't watch Bravo or reality TV, you get a real weird look. You get a real snarky look. It's like a Heather Dubrow if there's no champagne at the party kind of look. Like, oh, okay. And it is interesting. It's like when you meet somebody and they're not into reality shows, you're like, well, I do sometimes I will do true crime or I will talk movies or something, but it's also intermingled with this show. So I don't know. But anyways, that's wild to think. I just keep thinking about that Golden Globe thing. So crazy. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Real Housewives of Miami. The reunion part 1 aired tonight. It's a 3-part reunion, and I just love Real Housewives of Miami. I was talking to Gibson today, and I would rank Salt Lake as my favorite, and right behind it, Real Housewives of Miami. And I would put Orange County. Orange County wound up I think 5th on the list. But Miami, and I feel Miami is so slept on, but I just think from everything from the vibe to the colors they use to the interaction between all of the ladies, I really enjoy Stephanie as a first-year housewife. And I say that knowing that in the second year, it gets tougher on them. And I think there are layers to Stephanie that will be uncovered. I mean, what I'm really curious about, what cast changes will happen between this season and next, because they're already picked up for that other season. And I'm really nervous that they're going to let Gertie go. Gertie came on really strong in the first half of the season, and then it really took a backseat. They kind of downshifted, got away from her storyline and her anger towards Julia and some of the other women. And I felt like, it feels like the other women really just don't respect Gertie. That's the vibe I get every time I watch the show, because you have the Alexia and Marisol. Alexia and Marisol are they're like a power voting block. And it seems like this show, weirdly, or these ladies seem to revolve around these two ladies, even though sometimes you don't see that on screen. But Marisol, especially for being a friend of, holds a great deal of power. She really is. I think Anna Kosis, who I was on their podcast, Reality Court, her and Ace's podcast, was just saying, she really is an operator. She is a behind the scenes operator. And I 100% believe that. But I'm scared they're going to let Gertie go. And I will say, I think I'm okay if Larsa were to go. I don't think she wants to go, and I don't think she will go. But I was really having a come to Jesus talk with myself tonight about Larsa, is that you're never going to crack Larsa. You're never going to get her true feelings. You're going to get when she's angry at somebody. We've seen it time and time again, but we didn't even get to see her truly cry or be or explain the downfall of her relationship with Marcus Jordan. And now at the reunion, she brought her new guy and says, yes, she sees herself marrying him. But I don't know. It's just too much of a mystery. And I don't know if it's a mystery that I want to solve anymore, if that makes sense. And I don't think she's going anywhere. I mean, she's moving into that new house next season that we saw being built this season. I don't know. There's just not a lot there for me with Larsa. That's just a personal opinion. I know a lot of people will disagree with that. Kiki, I love. I think Kiki is weirdly to me a reliable narrator type figure. It's like she seems like she can be pretty sane in a way that some of the other ladies aren't. Like Alexia will always be there, but it's so like in this part of the reunion, she talks that she is not talking to her ex-husband anymore. She blocked him on all things. But then this reunion was filmed like a month and a half ago. And we do know that has changed since then, and that she is talking to him now because she was at a Page Six event and she said that they were talking. So I was like, oh God, Alexia, stop doing this to yourself. Like, oh my God, you're one of the most beautiful women. And I mean, she really is the Teresa of Miami sometimes, I feel like. But she's not going to go anywhere. Stephanie's going to come back. And the other person that I really wanted gone was Julia. But Julia did something in the very last 30 seconds to a minute of this reunion where she kind of, I think she knew she might be on the chopping block. So she brought out the big guns. And the big guns were admitting that her and Adriana slept together in the Hamptons. God, if that could have been an episode in Summer House, it's like me and Adriana slept together with this man, Jesse Solomon. He asked us to suck his toes. No, but she admitted they slept together. And we didn't really get a lot of follow-up. It's just that her marriage at that point wasn't strong. But then the previews for the next part of the reunion are hysterical because you have Adriana talking to Lisa Hochstein backstage. And Lisa Hochstein was like, were you scissoring? Were you scissoring? And Adriana's like, no. And then Julia's walking with Andy backstage and she's like, it was just once. It was just once in the Hamptons, and then we messed around at the Versace mansion. I can't really do Julia's accent, but, I wanted Julia gone. I wanted her gone for so many reasons. I think she's toxic, and I do think she hooks up with a lot of people. Who knows? Maybe her and Martina have an open relationship, but I was not surprised. In fact, if you listen to So Bad It's Good, how many times have I said that I think this was what the surprise was going to be? And it turns out I was right. I get no prize for this. I get no joy in being clairvoyant in this way, but it is exciting because I locked in. I was like, oh yeah. So that means Adriana and Julia are probably going to come back because you really want to see the aftermath of this. But it really makes sense because if you've watched Miami from the start or even, a couple seasons ago, they were joined at the hip. They were the bestest of friends. They were Thelma and they were Louise. And all of a sudden this season, that relationship has changed so drastically. And that doesn't just happen. Friendships have seasons, of course, but it doesn't like you just read it on screen of something major happened. And that makes sense. But I think Julia throwing out that grenade, that is so tactical. That is so to me, that is an act of desperation by a desperate woman wanting to stay on this show. So in the Hamptons, me and Adriana hooked up. Thank God she didn't say made love. But I'm so curious to see the rest of it. I mean, it makes Housewives exciting. Did you see Andy Cohen's face? Andy was like, zoinks. Andy was probably halfway asleep. And then all of a sudden he woke up and he was like, damn, this reunion just got really good. Oh, you guys, I just paused and I listened to a couple songs on the Taylor Swift album. I couldn't help myself. I did. It was just a quick listen. I just quickly listened to some things. I'm not going to say anything about it because I need to listen to it fully. It's not fair but I will say I listened to that Father Figure song because I just finished that George Michael book about, the pop star George Michael, rest in peace. And he has a credit on that track. And I'm trying to figure out because it didn't sound like it used any of the music or the lyrics. I could be wrong. It was just a quick glossed over listen. So I'm just curious why he is credited in that song. Yeah. So anyways, I'm going to try to power through this and not listen to the album because we can do that. It's going to be there forever. Anywho, back to Real Housewives of Miami. So yeah, the Julia thing, also Julia to me, I don't know, man. She's actress. At the beginning, she was crying in the makeup chair. So everybody's so mean to me online. Oh, screw you. You dug your own bed. You dug your own grave. And then she was calling for Alexia and Marisol to come in and comfort her. And I'm like, why? It just feels too dramatic and it just feels needy. And I just do not like Julia. Now, listen. like I always say with any of these people, they probably are a blast to hang out with. I'm just talking about the reactions of watching and these people over years of time. Also, Julia was questioned about Martina's very negative comments against surrogacy. And Andy asked Lisa Hochstein, who had her two children through surrogacy, and Julia was like, I don't agree with that at all. And I had Martina take it down. But I'm just like, it's so disgusting. And Andy, what a good host, because Andy had his children through surrogacy as well. And he is a big advocate for surrogacy. And he didn't say anything about his personal issue, which is good because a host shouldn't do that. But Lisa was able to fill in the blanks for that because it was I think that's disgusting. I think surrogacy should be completely legal. And we want every kid to have a good home in this country and in the world, right? Also, we saw a lot of unused footage of Julia breaking a chair last season at one of the events, which I was so wondering why they didn't leave that in because it was so bizarre. I was like, wow, this is actually good footage. And also the aftermath of when Julia threw the drink on Gertie earlier this season, we got to see a couple minutes later. Also, the other lady said, well, that water spilled on all of us, Gertie, you should calm down. It's really weird. I tell you, they don't seem to have a lot of respect for Gertie. Kiki was talking about Gertie in the press, talking about Kiki, saying that it made her look like Gertie said in the press that Kiki made her look like the angry black woman. And Kiki said, listen, I'm being called racist. I'm getting all sorts of threats because she got threats in regards to Adriana. Remember with the wretched, that thing. So that was kind of started to be talked about. But there seems to be a lot of hazing with this group. I'm trying to think what other things stood out. I mean, it really is that Adriana and Julia did the hippity-dippity. So we will find out more about that next week, but it was very exciting. Sometimes I really do regret that I picked OC over Miami to recap fully on this show. But next season, we got to recap Miami, or maybe I just throw that up on the Patreon. Which, by the way, we're covering Real Housewives of New York. Episode 4 will be this weekend, having a blast on that first season of Roni. So come join us. I shit you not. This isn't like a cash grab or anything, but it is so fun to recap early Roni. So come join, be a baddie, patreon.com/so bad it's good. Okay. That was Miami, some initial thoughts. We'll probably talk more about that on Monday, but let's get to the real co-workers of Orange County. Oh, I'm sorry, the real housewives. I call it the real co-workers because these aren't friends. These aren't even housewives. These are just co-workers at this point. And I'm sorry. I'm telling you once again, Tamra has some sort of mysticism. She uses voodoo or something. This lady has now quit the show 3 times this season. She quit once again, or threatened to quit once again at the end of this week's episode. That's not a housewife. That is cowardly BS. And I know Tamra going through a tough time, obviously with what Teddy Mellencamp is going through, but still. That is not a catch-all to be able to behave horribly and quit at a drop of a hat. If you don't want to be there, don't be there. But she wants to be there. She just wants kowtowed to, and she wants to be treated so delicately when she never treats anybody else with that same delicacy. She will hit so hard and then cry about it and complain that everybody's not being a good friend to her. And it is such a patented Tamra Judge move. And it is so frustrating because, I'm sorry, I'm done hearing about therapy. I can't imagine this is a weekly therapy session, maybe bi-weekly. It doesn't seem to be working. And yes, we all go through tough times in our lives. But how many times through the course of Tamra's reign on Orange County have we seen the same exact behavior time and time again? Now, that doesn't excuse Shannon Beador. I understand Shannon Beador's perspective completely. But Shannon just kind of washing her hands of a lot of things is not going to work. Eventually she's going to have to step into the ring. Shannon's completely right to be like, well, she's just going to tell me this. She's going to say this about me. Oh, I'm a drunk. And it's like the only out-of-pocket behavior we're seeing usually is from Tamra. And to me, it's not even entertaining. There is a difference between a Lisa Barlow explosion and a Tamra explosion. Lisa Barlow explosion, even if you don't like her, come on, you have to admit there is such a sense of humor about it. I'm not saying that she's in on the joke, but it is so laughable in so many ways. Tamra's explosions are never funny. They're never funny, they're never quirky, and she's not using visual aids. Lisa Barlow at least will print up poster boards. Tamra just huffs and puffs and then runs up the stairs. Like, at least go to a Kinko's and print out visual aids. So, come on, if you're going to act this way, make it entertaining, because it is not. It just feels like it is in such a rut. And then they're also self-obsessed, which, every one of us is self-obsessed to some degree. But I love in the middle of this, Heather Dubrow, her big storyline is she is offended that she is not recognized as the comedian that she thinks she is. And I love that. That is, to me, is a hysterical storyline. I kind of truly love that more and more the second time I watched it. I was like, oh, this is pretty funny. This actually is funny. Now, Shannon, she's a natural comedian. She's not even trying to, well, I think she tries to be funny a little bit, but she's just her body movements, the way she moves. But yeah, I've never considered Heather Dubrow, quote unquote, funny. I think she's ebullient. I think she has a lot of energy, and I know she considers herself funny, but it's the same thing. It's like Tamra wants everybody to be a good friend to her, and Heather wants everybody to think that she's funny and talented. And the great thing about people that are usually really talented is that they don't usually stop and think about how talented they are. They just do. Now, there is a larger conversation to be had about Heather Dubrow, about an aging woman in showbiz. No, that's all kidding aside, because Heather Dubrow has worked in TV and film. She really has. She's been on a bunch of sitcoms when she first started her career. She has done things. I would imagine her being on Real Housewives of Orange County for this long, it probably hurts her chances at getting roles more than it helps. But that's kind of the trade-off. Now, at the end of the day, you don't ever feel too bad for her because they lead with, "We are filthy rich." So it's not something of God, I hope she gets that paycheck from Days of Our Lives. You never worry about her in that sense, but you can tell this eats at her. It's we all have this hole in ourselves that sometimes we can't fill. And you see that Heather, that's her Achilles heel, is that all of this wealth has been accumulated, but at the end of the day, she wants to remind people that she is extremely talented. And yeah, she could act all those other ladies under the table. If there was an acting competition on that franchise, I'm sure Heather Dubrow would win, without a doubt. But there isn't. It might be a funny storyline, but the fact that Heather is boo-hooing about how hard it is to do improv and stand-up and how she wants to be more recognized for it. And all of those ladies are just very honest of I never thought of you as a comedian, Heather. That's okay. You're my funny friend. You never want to have to yell at your friends for them to think about you the way that they don't think about you. You don't want to do that. That is a bad sign. That is when the ego has gone too hard in the opposite direction where it is not helping you. It is only hurting you. So those are some initial thoughts, but as always, let's go scene to scene and we'll get through this together as a family. Okay, this is episode 13. My God. And at the end of this, I was so hoping that it would be next week on the season finale of Orange County, but no. We probably have 5 episodes left. This episode is called Not So Funfetti because they make funfetti cakes at Tamra's. The description DirecTV gives us says Tamra decides to give herself some space from Gretchen. Emily and Shane are more in sync after receiving a diagnosis for Luke. Jenn expresses her concerns as Dawson preps to leave for the Marines. That Dawson scene was wild. Was he having did he have a seizure in the chair? That was so crazy. So we don't really do, I've noticed OC lately, they don't do scenes from previous episodes. What they'll do is they'll do a new scene and then they will flash back to scenes in the first scene of the episodes. I don't know if you guys have noticed that as well. And our first scene is with Gretchen and Jenn Pedranti, where Jen's how are you doing, Gretchen? And I got to tell you, Gretchen Gretchen is like a pretty version of that little Billy the puppet on the bike from the Saw movies. It's like just a more beautiful version of that, because I'll find myself, I was really tired. I was watching it again. I was just kind of looking at the bone structure, and I was like, what is actually Gretchen and what isn't Gretchen? Like, where has the work been done? It's like a very interesting porcelain doll that put like tanning cream all over it. Does that make sense? But anyways, we flash back to last week when, Tamra's yelling at her like, what do you know about me, bitch? Wah! And Gretchen's like, you don't want me to talk, girl. And she's like, go ahead, talk, do it. And then we have scenes of Tamra going, she's a pathological liar. And then Gretchen tells Jenn, when the original thing even got talked about, the music and the song. And just to remind everybody, the storyline is they keep bleeping it out, but it's Jeff Timmons from 98 Degrees. They keep bleeping out the name for some reason, even though I feel like Jeff Timmons at this point would like it's like that would promote 98 Degrees because I think they're still on the road. But yeah, Tamra tried to be a singer at one point, worked with Jeff Timmons. Gretchen and Slade especially says that she slept with Jeff Timmons and that Tamra was also with Eddie at the time, right? And there's potential audio of this. And it's insane. I don't believe it's true, but I do believe that they were planning on getting this on air. I do. But Gretchen tells Jenn, Heather and Emily were like salivating at the mouth to hear this footage. They were, oh my God, Emily was salivating, you guys. And so we see like them calling Slade on FaceTime, and Gretchen's like, no, don't do it, Slade, don't do it. Gretchen says, what was meant to be silly and fun, Jenn, turned into something else. Yeah, it turned into nightmares where I had to picture 98 Degrees hooking up with Tamra Judge. That's what had happened. Like, nobody needs those kind of nightmares. Nobody. So then we flash to the scene last week of Gretchen talking to Slade and blaming it on Slade. And then we flash forward and Gretchen says to Jenn, and then yesterday, it just became such like this huge explosion. And then we flash back to the day before of Tamra going, fuck off, and flipping the double bird, fuck off. Like, I'm sorry, this to me, Tamra flipping out like that is not entertaining. Lisa Barlow, put Lisa Barlow in Orange County. Jenn goes, you know what? I'm bummed that you're not going to the party at Tamra's. I'm bummed that you're not making funfetti cake with us. I'm sad. And Jen's like, does it bother you? And Gretchen's like, no, I'm bothered by how she tried to like come in and be an asshole about it. Yeah, no, she's bummed because Gretchen is not a full-time salaried employee of Orange County. She's like a day player. So yeah, I'm sure she's bummed because she doesn't get a paycheck if she's not invited to these things. Then we flash back to the day before and Tamra, she walked out and then I guess she came back in, and this is new footage. Tamra comes back in and goes, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you guys. I'm having like this spring fling party. You're all invited, except for you, bitch. Forgot to tell you guys, I'm having a funfetti party and you're not a lot of fun, bitch. And Tamra's like, because you can't change. It is funny. They really are so similar because Tamra's the one that can't change. But I will give Tamra credit. When she walks out, her voice cracks when she goes, where are your florals? Where are your florals? Dress like it's the premiere of It Ends With Us. Where are your florals? Jenn in this scene goes, you and I are not going to change her. Maybe it's just time to be mindful of where we want to give our energy to. And then we get the Real Housewives of Orange County. We cut to the next day. Tamra has 2 potted plants at her house and she's decorating for the funfetti party. And she says, this must be the cheesiest thing I've ever done. No, the cheesiest thing you've ever done was have a poor cameraman film you and Eddie doing the hippity dippity in a bathtub years ago. That was the cheesiest thing you've ever done. But I like Tamra that she's doing it herself. She doesn't have people doing this for her. She's hanging her own flowers, right? And then Eddie comes and he's like, Lucy, I am home. And Tamra's like, you need to get a new line, which then I was like, oh my God, does Eddie do that every day? Like, Lucy, I'm back from Cut Fitness. And then Eddie, you guys, Eddie's in full motorcycle man regalia, like a leather vest, leather chaps. And it's a lot of leather. And then he rips off his leather vest. He's like, ugh. And you see that he's wearing, it's like an old, like, I think a Roman gladiator helmet that has the American flag over it. And I was like, oh no. What is going on? Eddie, this is fashion faux pas after fashion faux pas. I do wonder, I have one American flag shirt and it's from Old Navy because, you got to get an American flag shirt from Old Navy at some point in your life. It's actually, I will tell you the truth about that. I have my mom's Old Navy flag. I kept a couple of things from mom's and one was her Old Navy because I'm an Old Navy guy. So I took her Old Navy flag shirt. I took a couple of her shirts. The Eddie outfit, it really was alarming. But Tamra's complaining, like the tables are gross out here. And Eddie's like, I can wash them down. They'll be clean. I'll do a man thing. But then he's like, who's coming tomorrow? And Tamra's like, Gina, Shannon, Jenn, Heather, Emily. Just the 6 of us will be here. And then Eddie's like, is Shannon coming? And she's like, yeah, she's coming. I mean, I'm fine with Shannon, she tells Eddie. I wouldn't say great. In a talking head, she says, a couple days after Temecula, Shannon sent me a text message that said, I've been thinking about Teddy, and she forwarded me some treatment programs for cancer. And Tamra goes, I thought, okay, well, maybe that's like her olive branch. And, I thanked her. So I'm still trying and trying and trying. Okay. How in that story has anything to do with you trying? That story highlighted that Shannon was trying. Oop, I think the internet just tipped out. Okay, anyways, my point with Tamra is that I feel like Tamra processes things in her mind through a filter that is so skewed, where she thinks she's doing all the heavy lifting when potentially everybody around her is actually doing the heavy lifting. But then Tamra tells Eddie, my back hurts, and it should, because I guess in some ways she's carrying this season of Orange County. But Eddie goes, how did you hurt your back? And she's like, I went to a 98 Degrees concert. Hey-o! No, she says, I jumped over Gina. It was a prank, which is great because last week's episode, when they did that really tacky thing where they pretended like this dude that worked at the tactical facility was like carjacking them and Tamra pushed Gina in front. But like, isn't that comeuppance that Tamra actually hurt her back doing that? That was LOL. Is this what happens when you try to push your friend in front of you? But Eddie goes, that's fucking stupid. And Tamra's like, it wasn't cool at all. But did I expect anything less from this bitch? In a talking head, she goes, I mean, this girl cannot stop. So Gretchen's not allowed in my house. She can fuck a duck. And then she goes, don't even think a duck would fuck her. Turns out Slade is part duck, so you're wrong, Tamra. Tamra tells Eddie, I haven't heard what happened at Heather's sleepover. Emily was like, Gretchen got drunk and proceeded to tell a story about me, that me and this pop singer were fucking. So we screamed and yelled 12 years, Eddie, of fuck yous that came out at once. And then we have like a flash of all the fuck yous, and it's like all the years are flashing by. 2017, 2018, 2019, 2028, 2021. And she goes, oh, I left the best part out, Eddie. And he's like, there's more? And she goes, yeah, his wife said Jennifer followed him today. So I love that she's in contact with Jeff Timmons' wife, Jennifer. But Jennifer, I guess, is friends with Tamra and said that Jenn Pedranti followed him. And Eddie's like, why did she follow him? And Tamra's like, I don't know, but I'm going to ask her when she comes to the party tomorrow. Maybe she's just a big fan of 98 Degrees. Tamra in the talking head goes, what is her purpose for following him? I mean, Ryan dresses like a 1990s boy band. She doesn't mean you guys. She means Jenn Pedranti's dude. But Tamra goes, Jenn's a cheater. Maybe Jenn's thinking, wow, maybe if I follow him, he'll fuck me. Yeah, I'm sure that's what Jenn Pedranti is. I mean, who knows what she's thinking? But, and also I think Tamra's so funny of like, why would she follow him? Tamra has exhibited that same behavior through her whole career of Housewives. So it's like, don't be upset when to me, this is just what Housewives do. Do I think it's tacky? Yeah, of course I do. I think it's tacky that Jen followed this dude. But this is what Housewives do, which, by the way, that actually reminds me of Sheena, because her podcast Shenanigans comes out tomorrow and Alex Baskin is going to be the guest, the producer of The Valley. So I think finally Sheena will reveal her truth. That we had talked about last week's episode, but I guess it's saved for this week. So, but Sheena is still in deep. Tamra Judge used good as gold on a Instagram post picture with her and Katie Ginella, with Tamra and Katie Ginella. And sometimes I just get so bored of the back and forth. And I would almost feel better about it if I just knew that this was all plotted. They're just let's just get attention by going to war back and forth. I don't need your war outside of the show to be good. Just make the show good. If Real Housewives of Orange County was amazing this season, I would be yeah, beef all you want with Sheena. Go for it. But it's not good. Don't focus on Sheena. Focus on the flippin' OC. But Tamra says, what I don't know is what's going on with Heather. I'm not very happy with her. She was into this. So Tamra's upset because she thinks Heather's into this information about her hooking up with the Jeff Timmons guy, right? Because Emily told her last week. Tamra says, I asked Heather outside when she came, came to the thing, and we flash back to Tamra yelling at Heather, did you stick up for me? And Heather's like, listen to me. I said, this is gross. And I don't want to hear about this. And by the way, that's what Heather did say. Heather said, this is gross. I just want to hear the singing. Tamra tells Eddie, I don't know what happened afterwards. Heather didn't call me telling me I'm sorry because you yelled at her, Tamra. Why would she call you? But Tamra's like, she didn't call or, say anything like that. And Eddie goes, I'm disappointed. Eddie, are you? Eddie's just trying to get in the shower. I'm disappointed. I got to take these leather chaps off. Tamra's like, so am I. So am I. The producer says, hey, so why is it hurtful? And Tamra says, Heather sometimes doesn't take sides. And I get it. Heather doesn't want to argue with anybody. But I've been your friend for 15 years. You were in my wedding. Just stick up for me for once. That is so bullshit. Listen, even I will admit that Heather sticks up for Tamra way too much. Way too much. Are you looking for friends or are you looking for foot soldiers? Tamra says, you know what I've learned, Eddie? A friend to everybody is a friend to nobody. Uh-oh, Tamra's reading Aristotle. Look at the big brain on Tamra. Eddie just stares at Tamra what are you talking about? Is that a Stephen King quote? What's going on here? We cut out of that scene, and now we're at Art Time Barrio, where Heather Dubrow is walking in, and they're doing a pottery thing, her and Shannon Beador, which I kind of did enjoy this. It was low intensity, which I think we needed. Shannon walks in. Hi there. I'm Shannon. And she's like, all I have is a broken pair of readers. So her glasses are all crooked. And I'm like, Heather wishes she was the comedian that Shannon Beador is. Heather in a talking head goes, poor Shannon. She can never just show up somewhere looking ready. God, Heather, just call her a Raggedy Ann doll. My God. So now they're doing kintsugi, which is a traditional Japanese art form. And instead of throwing away the pieces that we may have once considered were broken, the teacher says, we're adorning our scars. So let's wrap our piece in the towel and give it a nice, good smack. So they're breaking the piece of pottery, you guys. And Heather goes, L'chaim. That's funny out of Heather Dubrow. So good times. Good times. So they break it, and Heather goes, I really like the symbolism of repairing something that's broken. Yeah, repair the fucking OC show, my God. But Heather goes, sort of like repairing relationships with friends. And maybe Shannon can use that for her readers as well. Hey, I learned that joke at the Groundlings. All right. So we intercut this with another scene, and this one, we are at a store with Gina, and Gina comes into this store, And she's like, I have one return. Can I leave this up here and then shop around and do a scene for my little show? I have a party tomorrow and it's a floral spring party. So then Emily Simpson comes in. So it's an Emily Gina shopping scene. So they're doing the greeting, like hug, you look good, whatever. Gina says, I can't believe Heather had you sleep in the living room. And Emily goes, yeah, and once I got Gretchers to shut up, and then we flash back to Gretchen not being able to sleep because, allegedly the Adderall abuse. I'm kidding, she's like, this is so fun. This is the best slumber party ever, Gretchen said. This is the best ever. Emily, I love you, Emily. And then we flash forward to this scene, and Gina goes, wait, can I tell you something, Emily? Like Gretchen and Tamra were like ripping each other's faces off, but I was so excited that this is about bleep. So I think Jeff Timmons from 98 Degrees, because this is your millennial girls moment. Here's me at their concert in 2021. I love that Gina is potentially going to 98 Degrees concerts, not 20 plus years ago when they were at their height. She's going 3 years ago. This is a true fan. Emily goes, did you sleep with him? And Gina's like, unfortunately not. And Emily's like, did you record a song with him? No, I didn't. Then we cut back to Shannon and Heather. And Heather's like, nah, I still didn't hear the Tamra song. And Shannon was like, well, you were saying that you could hear moaning in the background of the song? And Heather's like, no, they were like recording the song and then it turned into sex. And Shannon's like, how can you be singing and moaning at the same time? And then Heather goes, I mean, it could be like la. And then Shannon goes, la. And then Heather really lets a scream out, which I'm just like, oh my God, this is what Terry sees once a month potentially, right? But they're having fun. They're giggle-gurdies together. Shannon seems like this is a low pressure scene for Shannon. And then Heather goes, maybe I'll add this to my IMDb. Yeah, whatever you want to add to your acting resume. Shannon says she's grateful that she wasn't involved in the altercation the day before with Gretchen and Heather's like, yeah, when I went outside with Tamra, I was like, when you behave that way, when you talk that way, when you grab Gretchen's wrists, you lose when you do that. You need to be able to communicate in a calm, reasonable way, Tamra. And obviously that didn't land with Tamra at all. Like, Tamra's not good with notes. And anyways, they're doing this, like trying to glue the pieces together that they broke. We go back over to Gina and Emily, and Gina's like, the problem that I had was how aggressive Tamra gets. That's what scared Heather. And Emily's like, yeah, she doesn't like the conflict. At the slumber party in LA, Gina, we did this game where it was some questions, like some shady questions. And one of them was like, who do you trust the least? And Heather said that she would trust Tamra the least. That she wouldn't give her sensitive information. And Emily agreed. And Emily's like, yeah, do I trust her with sensitive information? No, because I'm smart. And she was like, yeah, right. You're a real smart person, Emily. We go back to Shannon, and Shannon tells Heather, in Temecula, she told me that I'm a grudge holder, and she's not at all. And Heather goes, I think we all are to a certain extent. And Shannon's like, well, what traumatic things happened, to you? You don't forget them. I just felt like there was just a lot of nitpicking on the trip, and your name did come up. And Heather's like, how did my name come up? And we flash back to the scene in Temecula where Shannon's telling the group that Heather Dubrow is taking comedy classes. And Gina's like, I've never really seen her be a comedian. Yeah. And Jen's like, yeah, I can't see Heather doing improv. And Tamra's like, I could see Terry doing it. And Shannon goes, yeah, I said you were doing groundlings. They're like, why is Heather doing comedy? She's not a comedian. And this is the first time Heather just looks like, oh, are you fucking kidding me? Shannon's like, yeah. And I said, well, it's like an improv group. It's very famous. And Heather goes, I am a comedic actress. And I am a comedian. And I have done stand-up. In a talking head, she goes, "It is so disappointing to me that I constantly have to defend anything I've done in my life or in my career." We flash back to a montage throughout the years of ladies like Alexis Bellino, talking about, like, I guess Heather's an actress, but I've never seen anything that she's ever been in. I mean, Angela Jolie's an actress, Heather Dubrow. Then you had Taylor Armstrong when she was on going, like, looking at her IMDb. You remember that season 2 seasons ago? But Heather goes, "Do I have to read my IMDb to everybody again?" And Jen's like, "No, they were just saying that you weren't really a comedian." And I said, if I look at Heather, I see her as being more of a serious actress, but I don't know. I also do love that these women have forgotten. We've had multiple storylines about Heather being an actress, and all of these ladies have suddenly forgotten. That's what cracks me up the most, is that we've literally had these conversations before. Heather says, "I could be the most humorless person in the world, and I would still be funnier than Emily." No, she says, "And I could be the least funniest person in the world. And if I want to take a stand-up comedy classes, you should be like, that's a great idea. Support me. This is what friends do. It's really hurtful if you're not supporting me." Heather is just making a mess out of this vase she's trying to glue back together. But it's great. Like, they're joking about holes. Shannon's like, "There's gotta be a reason for a hole." And then, like, sticking her little thing in this vase hole. It's great. It's a comedic tour de force. This is the funniest I've ever seen Heather, to be honest with you. And we cut to commercial. Maybe this is a good time to do Heather Dubrow's stand-up act. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, professional comedian Heather Dubrow. What's going on, my peeps? Hey, my driver was late today, so I had to take the backup driver. Am I right? Okay. I tried to slum it and use cash, but the valet didn't have change for a $10,000 bill. Boom! Yeah! I don't know who invented Venmo. My assistant just sends my money carrier pigeon. Hey-o! I like to keep things modest. That's why I only fly private when I'm alone. With guests, we take the jet with the pool. Hey-o! I told my financial advisor I wanted something risky, so we invested in Costco memberships. Hey-o! Hickory dickory dock. No. I don't play Monopoly. It feels too autobiographical. Tip your waiters, ladies and gentlemen. That was Heather Dubrow. So now we're with Jenn Pedranti and her son Dawson and her other son, and Dawson is getting a tattoo. He's getting 7s across his heart before he goes into the Marines. And Jenn in Talking Heads is just talking about, they say that once you go into training and you come back, you are different. And she doesn't want him to be different. And also, he's training for recon. And this is people that go in, put themselves in the most risky of positions. And she's like, how does that not change a person? And she's crying in her talking head. And I mean, truly, this is a very real thing. And you just think about the people that serve us in our military and, fighting on behalf of us. My dad served in Vietnam, and he, saw things that really horrified him, stayed with him through his entire life. And he really, he was very adamant about not wanting me to ever join the military because of just the things that he had seen. He was flying in on helicopters after a battle and have to pick up bodies and stuff like that, and he was 18 years old. But this is what Dawson wants to do. He's wanted to do this since he was a kid. We see a flashback of him at 9 years old talking about the USMC. And so this is something he's always wanted to do, so his mother is supporting. But then they shift the conversation to her and Ryan's wedding and asking how the kids feel about Ryan. And they're like, yeah, I describe him as my stepdad Ryan. And the other son says, yeah, I say my mom's boyfriend or /fiance / I don't really know what's going on there, Ryan. Jenn says in a talking head, in the beginning of Ryan and I, their dad sat all of them down and said, this is the man who took your mom. And he dresses like he's in a boy band. No, this is the man that took your mom. And they were like, my mom is with this horrible person. But the son says, hey, he's super kind to us. He treats you super well. I love the guy, her son says. Jen says, well, Ryan kept saying, I'm not worried about it, she says in the talking head. We're just going to do us, and I'm going to keep showing up for these kids, and they'll see, and they did. So that's great. I mean, that seems to work for them, no matter what I think about Ryan. I mean, there seems to be really some shady business dealings. But now the tattoo is starting, right? And he hates needles, Dawson. So they start doing the 7, filling it in, outlining the whole thing. And Dawson's starting to sweat, you guys. And they like show his armpit sweat. And they keep tattooing him. And he's like, this shit hurts. And Jen's standing over him. The tattoo lady is just going. He's groaning. And they're on the last one, right? And they're like, are you fading? And they're like, do you want to take a break really quick? And he's like, yeah. And then all of a sudden he just zones out and he stares ahead. And they're like, are you okay? And he just goes, no. And all of a sudden he just goes catatonic. And they're like, Doss. And he lays his head back. And then he just starts like shaking. Like it seems like a seizure, right? And Jen's like, what's happening? I love that in these really dramatic real life situations, the camera guy is getting all the footage. The camera guy isn't helping, man. The camera guy is like, got to focus directly on Dawson. But Jen's like, why is he doing this? And Dawson's moaning. And it's a real, like, his eyes are rolling in the back of his head, you guys. It really is freaky as hell. And then all of a sudden, this other guy that works at the shop puts some kind of smelling salts or something under his nose. And then he immediately comes back. It was scary as hell. And then the tattoo people are like, no, it's all good. It's normal. I'm like, what the hell? This is normal? No. And everybody's acting like everything's normal. They're like, okay, you're okay now. It's like, no, we are not. We got to figure this out. And then Jen's like, you're going to do great in the Marines. And I'm like, holy shit. Anyways, we now go over to Emily. And Emily and Shane are there. And they're talking about wanting to get a Roomba. And Emily's like, you can get one, but don't do it for my birthday. And then their food's here. And they got some pizza. And they call down their kids, right? Luke and Keller. And it turns out that they didn't get the cheese pizza because Luke is very picky with his foods, right? The poor Luke, man. Emily's storyline is so Luke. But anyways, they didn't get the right pizza and they're like, hey, can we just pick all the meat and stuff off of it? And Luke is just staring like, what the hell is my life? I am my mom's storyline right now. And part of me thought, did they not purposely get the cheese pizza just to try to test if he would eat something different? But he doesn't want it. He doesn't want in it, because the pepperoni touched or whatever. And then Shane's like, do you want your usual dinner? And he'll only eat rice, but he'll only eat Trader Joe's rice, which I don't even, that's so interesting because I really have never stopped to think about the taste of rice because I'm just weird. I mean, maybe I should think about the taste of rice more. Trader Joe, I love Trader Joe's though. Not that you guys care. The producer goes, how does he know the rice? And Emily's like, he knows. I don't know how he knows, but he knows. So Emily's talking to her kids, and, they're just talking about comic books, the norm. Emily reveals that both of the boys have therapists. Luke, obviously, for his issues, but Keller, just so he has somebody to talk to about this as well. They go back upstairs to play their Roblox, and then Emily's like, Shane, I feel like Luke's been a lot better lately, don't you? Maybe not a lot better, but a little better. And he's like, yeah, he's doing good. And Emily goes, I still don't understand, like, after we went to the specialist, whether Luke was autistic or not. She said basically like maybe he is, but that's not the issue. The learning disability is what is so detrimental right now. Okay, so it's very frustrating because I'm like, it turned out that, maybe we shouldn't have used this for a storyline because it turns out he is probably maybe autistic. Emily says Luke's diagnosis was very complicated. He has anxiety, ADHD, OCD, and he has a learning disability and he has dyslexia. And he needs all these things. That is so much for a young boy to handle, right? And Emily says, you know what hurt my heart was to learn that he's been struggling and suffering, Shane says. And it's like, that he had so much trouble in school because he had a learning disability that we didn't know about. You question your own parenting, Emily says. Like, are these things that I should have noticed before? Were these red flags? Did I bring him too late? He's highly intelligent in certain areas, but he's in the 4th grade, and I didn't know he couldn't read. I mean, how sad is that? Well, I mean, did you ever read with him? Sorry, I don't mean to be a dick. And like, listen, this is scaring the shit out of me. We're going to be first-time parents. Shane's like, she's going to give us the curriculum that he needs. So I like Shane's always just this calming force. Like, listen, it's going to be fine. We're going to do what the doctor says. We've got a roadmap. It's good. I just want a thirst buster right now. But, she says, you're being so much more engaged with him, Shane, and you're being more affectionate, just more warm with him. And it's really made a big difference. And Shane goes, it was not physical as much as it was validating and praising him and making him feel good, he says. She says in the talking head, Shane's perspective was, if his behavior is like this, why would I reward him? But after therapy, Shane really completely changed his parenting style. And that's really alleviated a lot of stress in our life, Emily says. And then Shane goes to Emily, he told me like a couple weeks ago, he goes, do you know what ADHD stands for, Dad? It goes, attention deficit, hey, a dog. Which actually is fucking funny. Luke is way funnier than Heather Dubrow. Can we all agree to that at least? I mean, way funnier. So we have Tamra preparing for her spring fling, and we welcome Lisa, the gluten-free cake lady that's going to teach him how to do the funfetti cakes. Poor Lisa. Already, Lisa's going to see some shit that she'll never forget for the rest of her life. And Tamra's just like, I'm growing. It must be my therapy. You're not growing at all. So we have that little setup, and then we go to like this wooded area. It almost looks like what I imagine Adam and Eve, where they first like hung out. And you actually see lights, and we see Gretchen all done up, and she's like, look at Daddy. You got it, honey. And her daughter's on like a stepladder next to Slade, and we find out they're taking professional photographs in a wooded area. And they do a little father-daughter kiss, and we see the three of them in a photo, and then Gretchen all of a sudden is holding a bunny, and she's like, does the bunny pee or poop? And they're like, did the bunny pee on you? She's like, no, I'm just checking. I just want to make sure it doesn't stain the dress. Poor bunny rabbit. It's like of mice and men at the end. And then Gretchen's phone rings and Slade answers it. And he's like, hi, this is Gretchen's answering service. Hi, how can I help you? Hi, Shannon Beador. And Shannon's like, hey, you look nice. And Gretchen's like, hi, love. Gretchen's very excited to be getting a FaceTime from Shannon Beador. We're in the middle of a photo shoot, Shannon. Well, I just wanted to check and see if you're okay, Gretchen. Because, what happened was just horrible. And Gretchen's like, that's so sweet of you to call me. Thank you for that. What are you doing, Shannon? Oh, you're on your way to Tamra's, aren't you? In a talking head, Gretchen says, let's be honest, I'd rather poke my eyes out with forks than go to Tamra's spring fling party. That sounds like a storyline, poking your eyes out with forks? But Gretchen says, there's so many other things that I would rather be doing, like washing my feet. I don't know. Sounds like Gretchen could do Heather Dubrow stand-up too. Back in the scene, Shannon goes, she and I are good now, Tamra, but I would have a conversation with her about that because it's not okay. In a talking head, Shannon says that she heard Gretchen apologize. And we flash back to the day before when Gretchen is apologizing to Tamra, saying, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have brought that up. But Shannon says, but that's the difference. Tamra gets any little bit of information and she'll run with it to try and hurt someone. But she can't take it. Yeah, see, that Shannon knows exactly Tamra's game. It's just that Shannon's got to get in there more, right? If you're going to win this season. Gretchen tells Shannon, well, let me tell you, I'm enjoying this so much more than where you're headed. Sorry. And Shannon's like, I'm on my way to bake a cake? Really? Oh, man. Okay, so we get out of there. Now, ladies are starting to arrive at the spring fling. They all, Emily's in a floral dress. Emily comes in first, gives a big hug. I will say, I think Tamra looks very pretty in her spring fling dress. I do. Emily sees the cake and goes, I love cake. And then we flash to Emily in a cake fight from a previous season. I don't know. I don't know, you guys. So Emily and Tamra start talking about the fight with Gretchers, right? And Tamra's like, It's funny how people finally show their true colors. Emily says, I was surprised by the things that she was saying because they were not on brand for how she likes to portray herself. Tamra's like, yep. And Emily's like, as the very, very Christian behavior. And Tamra's like, I know. Emily goes, before we went to LA, I picked her up and she and Slade and her daughter had like a prayer moment outside the car. And I was like, should I be invited to this? No, Emily, you can't be saved. They're not going to invite you into the prayer circle. But we flash back to this of like, dear Heavenly Father. And then their daughter's like, please watch mommy over her trip. And Slade's like, and we pray that she has a wonderful time with her friends. Amen. Oh, gosh, you guys. Tamra in this scene goes, people that are godly and pray like that and then go and spread rumors about people are hiding behind the Jesus curtain. I will say there is an element of that. I do agree with Tamra. Sometimes the most religious people will talk the biggest mad shit of all the people that I know in my life. And I do find that interesting because you're like, man, I must have missed that part in the Bible where Jesus was like talking mad shit about the apostles. Like, it is interesting because they're like, oh, if I pray and I do speak of the word of the Lord, I can speak all of this other shit as well. It just has never made sense to me. Emily says, okay, let me tell you something else about LA. It was Gretchen and Heather and me, and we were going to bed, and we were playing this game before we went to bed, this question game. And then one of the questions was, who out of this group of women do you trust the least? Heather said I would pick Tamra, and I said you as well. And I'll tell you why I said that. My fear is, this is great, Emily getting ahead of something, because this would get back to Tamra anyways, but I like that Emily's owning this. Emily says, my fear is if I shared things, by the way, Lisa, the vegan chef, like the vegan cake cook, is like just furiously like she's whisking. She's like in there as they're having this conversation. But she says, with you, that were really personal, if I told you things that were really personal and you got mad at me in some circumstance that you would go look something up, that is a legitimate fear. And then Tamra goes, well, that hurts my feelings. And she goes, I know it hurts your feelings. I know. And Tamra goes, because I am like fucking loyal to a fault. I am always honest with everybody. What have I ever done to her that she would not trust me? She says in a talking head. Emily in a talking head says Tamra's unpredictable. There's all kinds of articles that like, my husband's cheating on me. I don't know where those come from. I have never seen an article where Shane has, what blogs are we reading these days? I feel so out of the loop. I've never seen a Shane cheating on Emily article, but she's like kind of inferring that Tamra puts that shit out there. Emily in this scene goes, Tamra, you have to admit that you do things like that too. You can't just have clean hands all the time and everybody else is the villain. And Tamra is like listening, but you can tell just the fury is bubbling up inside her. And Emily's like, I'm just saying. And Tamra's like, I can't fucking believe this. And Emily's like, now you're pissed at me? And Tamra's like, I cannot get fucking hurt by you. And she storms out of the room. Poor Lisa's just still stirring the cake batter. Tamra upstairs is going, this is so fucking bullshit. Emily goes, that went well. How's the cake? To Lisa. And Lisa's like, great. And I was like, it smells good. She's like, I'm just sitting over here in my little buttercream corner. Make Lisa a housewife next season. It can't be any worse, right? Emily says, well, this isn't my house, so I don't really know what to do. I don't know what to do either. We cut to commercial. We come back and Emily's still talking to the cake lady. She's doing a scene with the cake lady now. She's like, listen, Tamra, I will apologize to her because we have had a good relationship. You don't need to explain this to the cake lady. Anyways, Gina comes in and she's like, wow, spring has sprung in here. And I was like, yeah, you came at a great time. Meet our new cast member, Lisa. And Gina's like, why? What happened? And I was like, she's pissed at me. Tamra, she's pissed at me. She left. And Gina's like, already? You didn't even decorate the cakes yet. And now we see Tamra walking down her steps. And Tamra's coming back for round 2. Gina says, when you're storming off in your own house, that's the party's off to a good start. Emily says, I'm being honest with Tamra about something that I said, and I would expect that she could be honest back. I feel like Tamra took it very personally, but that is Tamra's honesty, just like flying off the fucking handle. She takes everything personally. So Tamra's walking down and hugs Gina. Hi. Turns on a dime. She's like, I'm good. And Gina's like, why are you angry? And Emily's like, can we finish the conversation, Tamra? And Tamra's like, yeah, when I get done. And Emily's like, done with what? And she's like, why are you mad? I can't be trusted, Tamra says. It just hurts my feelings because I support. That's all I do. I support. Nobody fucking supports me. And Gina's like, we support you. Come on. Emily's like, you know what? I don't think that's true because honestly, through this whole situation with Gretchen, I've been like trying hard to see both sides, for her to see another side to things. I'm sorry that I hurt you, Tamra. I don't want to hurt you. And Gina goes, I have to tell you personally, I thought it was cool that you had slept with the guy from 98 Degrees. I was kind of hoping you did. And Emily's like, yeah, I really wanted some details. And then Tamra, now it's like the focus is back on her in a funny way. And she goes, well, and by the way, guys, I could have easily fucked him. I could have sucked and fucked him. I could have 69'd that guy if I wanted to. So outside, we see, I think it's Heather Dubrow's coming up. But now Tamra tells the ladies, I talked to his wife. And she gives me a screenshot. Oh, it's actually Jenn Pedranti coming in. But she sends me a screenshot saying Jenn Pedranti just followed him. And Emily's like, does she want dirt or does she just want tickets? Girl, I think you can get tickets pretty easy. And Tamra yells, I don't follow bleep, which is Jeff Timmons from 98 Degrees. And Emily's like, yeah, because it's not appropriate, I don't think. And Gina goes, I might, but as a fan and a millennial, like that's okay. It's different. Now Jen comes in of like, hey, I was saying knock, knock. I rang, so I just came in. And Tamra's like, oh, sorry. Everything looks so cute in here, Tamra. Look at all the cakes. This is adorable. In a talking head, Jen goes, to be truthful, I cannot stand pretend. And so Tamra's showing the charcuterie tray, the wine. Gina's like, oh shit, she has the screenshot. Shit's going to go down. Jen talks, and the talking head says, I've been burned, apologized to, and then sucked back in. However, cake decorating may be a safe space. How would it ever be a safe space? There's like knives and tools involved. But yeah, everybody knows Tamra's whole routine. It's like explosion, be nice, suck you back in, another explosion. So all the ladies are like over the cake making table. Like, let's make these cakes now. Let's just get it over with. So now Heather Dubrow comes in and I guess Shannon's the only one that is not there yet. Okay, Shannon finally gets there, you guys. Thank God. And she says that she goes, I texted Jen I looked like a prairie hooker in my red dress. And then she's getting some charcuterie. She's like, I'm going to eat the radish. Oh, I got to get turkey. I got to get my protein. And then they all sit outside and, have a conversation. And Jenn Pedranti says, hey, listen, I saw Gretchen and she actually feels bad. And Tamra goes, well, Heather told me that she actually believes her lies. Remember you told me that, Heather? And Heather's like, that's not what I said. I said Gretchen doesn't lie. What she speaks, she believes what she is saying. And Tamra goes, yeah, so she's a sociopath. I did not call her a sociopath. And Tamra's like, no, but that's what a sociopath is. I'm saying to her, it is her truth. And Emily's like, but that's the same thing we say about Katie Ginella. Katie lies so much she believes what she is saying. And then we flash back to Tamra going, this girl was attacking me on social media. And she said that you and Matt called her. This is the first episode of the season with Katie Ginella. God, we forget about Katie. This makes me long for the Katie storyline that I hated again because I hate this so much. But yeah, Katie was lying of I did not call her. But we found out she did call the Bravo babe, right? And then we have another scene where Katie tells Tamra, I'm looking through my DMs and I did call her. Anyways, Tamra goes, well, I talked to Katie yesterday and I'm gonna meet with her. Which is so funny because this is like the same kind of housewife behavior that oh, are you following this person because I'm in a fight with them? This is Tamra's mind works like it's like military operations. She's like, I'm going to reach out to Katie. She's like, I talked to her yesterday. I'm going to meet with her. And Jen's like, are you? And it's like, yeah, she's going to tell me everything. Kiki Monique. But Jen's like, well, about what? What is she going to tell you? And Tamra goes, what went down? And Jen's like, why would you sit with her and believe anything that she has to say? And Tamra goes, well, because there's something that she said that resonated with me. She said, I'm an amazing person. No, she said, something in my gut, Tamra says in a talking head, is telling me that Gretchen 100% told Katie that I drugged her and she had to go to the hospital. I want to know exactly what Gretchen said to her. I want any receipt she has, because if Gretchen's out there saying that I drugged her, that's illegal. Yeah. I mean, I do believe Gretchen 100% said this. Anyways, Emily goes, wait, so you're going to sit down with someone that hurt me and my children, that hurt her and called her a racist, that recorded her without her knowledge, went after you, and then you're going to sit down with her and you're going to believe, in this moment, you're going to believe what she has to say. Because it works for your narrative against Gretchen. Emily totally knows Tamra. Shannon just makes it look like, classic Tamra, but she's not participating in this conversation. And Tamra goes, no, I want to know if she has detailed information. And Emily goes, no, I don't want to know anything. Honestly, if you sit down with her, that really pisses me off, Tamra. And Tamra's like, okay. And Emily's like, oh, and then you want to be upset that I said I didn't trust you? And Tamra's like, big difference between that. Emily goes, I mean, no, it's not a big difference. It's worse. Tamra's like, this is great. Can we just decorate fucking cakes now, guys? Emily goes, no, I'm saying this pisses me off. You want to say you're hurt, Tamra? I'm fucking hurt. Tamra just goes in by herself. Poor Lisa's still there. She's like, let's decorate cakes. Back outside, Heather goes, wait, she's mad because you said you didn't trust her? And Emily's like, we all said it. And Shannon goes, because she can dish it out and she can't take it. And Heather's like, yes, we all did say that. In a talking head, Tamra goes, why are they sitting down with Gretchen, who's done 100 times worse than what Katie Ginella does to any of them? And they're not having a problem with her. It's the double standards that make me sick in this group. Oh, Tamra, my God. My God. And then inside, Tamra tells Lisa, the cake lady, this will be the last time I ever film. Lisa's like, my God, make me a bird so I can fly far, far away. No, Heather Dubrow walks in right when Tamra's saying, this is going to be the last thing I ever film. After what you fucking did to me, Heather. And Heather goes, me? What did I do? Tamra goes, Emily came here earlier to tell me. To tell you what? That you don't trust me? I'm hurt. Heather goes, really? I'm hurt by you. You blew me off in New Orleans. I sat down with you, you weren't nice to me, and then Shannon just told me the other day that you were shit-talking my career again. What a big fucking joke. And Tamra goes, I shit-talked you? Oh yeah, I'm in the groundlings. She's not funny. Does she think she's a comedian? Shannon outside hears her name and goes, oh, now I'm gonna be in trouble. Tamra goes, that's what she said? Oh, well, let's ask the other girls if that's what I said. And then they called Gina in because Gina was there. And Gina's like, okay, I'm coming in. And Heather goes, so what happened when you guys were in Temecula and my career came up and the groundlings came up? And Gina just comes in and Gina's like, well, we didn't know what it was. Heather goes, Shannon told me that it was a big joke. And Tamra goes, Shannon told her that we were making fun of her career? And Gina goes, yes, yes. Gina goes, yes, we did do that. She goes, I didn't know that you were a comedian, Heather. I've never seen this funny side from you before. And Heather looks so offended. I've never seen you be funny ever before. In a talking head, Gina goes, who's telling Heather Dubrow she's funny? The sales associates at Bergdorf's? Hey-o! Welcome to the stage, Gina Kirschenheiter. And then Heather goes, Gina, what do you think acting is? And Gina goes, well, there's different lanes. And to be honest, I didn't know you as a comedian. And Heather goes, well, why don't you go watch anything I've ever done? But I know I'm so humorless. They have a shot of Lisa, the cake lady, going, oh my God. Heather in a talking head goes, so Gina, you're my close friend and you have no idea that I was a sitcom actress for years? Shannon outside still complaining, oh, now I'm the asshole because I brought it up? Gina goes, Heather, I'm sure you were very, very funny when you were on all those sitcoms in 1994. She says that in the talking head. I wish she had said that to Heather's face. Gina goes, I'm sure you were, but I was in the 4th grade. Oh, damn. Gina in the scene goes, I don't really find you that funny. And Heather goes, do you want to make fun of me as an athlete? As an athlete? That is funny. And Gina goes, you need to write down all the rules, Heather. And Heather goes, no, it's not a rule, because if I slightly go out of bounds, it's the end of the world. And Heather goes, this is bull. This is bull. Gina goes, she could tell you to fuck off all day long, but I slightly go out of the rules and it's not okay. And Heather goes, no, Gina. And I get the things, Heather. I get come on. You're so afraid of confrontation, Heather, but not with me. Heather goes, I am not afraid of confrontation. I know that, Heather. Not with me. Heather goes, not with anyone. Not with anyone. Gina goes, that's how I feel. I'm allowed to have feelings too. So this episode is kind of interesting because it's like, finally, Emily and Gina are breaking from the shackles that they are treated less than, and now are going, fuck all of this. I have feelings about all this bullshit from OGs. Heather and Tamra. So we pick back up mid-fight, and Heather's like, you were so pissed at Tamra when we were in New Orleans, Gina. I'm the only one that sat down with Tamra when she came back. Gina in a talking head goes, all of these bitches also were laughing at you, Heather, and your lack of comedic ability. Like, this is bullshit. And Gina in the scene goes, you want to talk about it? Let's talk about it. So they go outside by the fire pit. And then inside, Jen turns to Tamra and goes, I don't view her as a stand-up comedian or whatever it is. And Tamra goes, don't tell her that, Jen. And this is actually kind of funny. Everybody's like, shh, shh. And then outside, Heather goes to Gina, I have put all of my shit aside to raise my family. I am now in a space where I am like, I'm back. You don't know shit about my career. Do you know I did stand-up? Hey, it's me, Heather Dubrow. How many Veuve Clicquots does it take to fill a limousine? Hey-oh! But Gina goes, no, I didn't. That's very brave. It's very brave. And Heather goes, and it's hard. And it's not easy to get yourself together and be like, I'm going to jump back in. And I'm in classes with like 25-year-olds. In a talking head, she says, all of it's terrifying. And then you have self-doubt. Am I still talented? Can I still do this? Is there a place for me out there? And Gina in the scene goes, I don't know you as Heather Paige Kent. The actress is doing all these comedy yuck things. Your personality isn't like that. Heather in a talking head goes, so what you really want to do is surround yourself with people that emotionally support you. And I really thought Gina was that person. Wrong. In the scene, she goes, well, I'm sorry you think I'm so humorless. And Gina goes, no, I'm not saying that you're humorless, Heather. I support you in everything that you do, and I'm proud of you, my friend, for doing all these amazing things. Outside, Tamra's like, what is going on out there? It's not that deep, is it? Tamra's like, my problems can only be the deep ones. But Tamra's like, we're going to start with the cakes. Lisa's like, fuck yeah, finally. Yeah, buttercream, you're going to frost the cakes. Let's move this along. Come on, just do a big dollop. Just throw it on there. Outside, Gina goes, we just had a chuckle, and I really apologize. I really do. And then Heather keeps going, just so you know, I auditioned, and I got in. Now, if she's talking about the Groundlings, you guys, I went through the whole Groundlings program years ago. And the audition, if it's still the same audition, it's basically just to weed out crazy people. So it's like just a couple group games. It's like stand-ups, like you'll do like one-word story. Like each person in the line will be like, the mouse took a piece of cheese. And you'll really be able to tell who's crazy, because there are crazy people in LA. So if that's the audition, it's not, it's if you can like read, you can get in, right? But Heather goes, I auditioned. And Gina goes, oh, what? This is like you have to get in. Okay, I'm very happy for you then. Yeah. In a talking head, Gina goes, Heather's very funny. I was wrong. She's my funny friend. But don't put me on a lie detector test and ask me, okay? Hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Oh, man, Heather's going to be pissed at Gina for no more Veuve Clicquot gifts for you, Gina. So now they go back inside to do their cake, and I don't know. Poor Lisa. She's trying to walk him through the cake. I do love Shannon in this because she goes, I'm not a baker. I'm more of a chef. And then we flash back to 2018. Remember when she was like selling the cream cheese salmon? And Shannon, we flash back to that scene where she's like, cream cheese. Who doesn't want that on their salmon? Oh! So we have this whole cake scene. Everybody's decorating their cakes. Emily reveals that she doesn't give blowjobs to Shane. Yeah, okay. And then at the end, they're done with their cakes. And then Tamra's like, okay, guys, after I left the tactical place the other day, I was clearly upset. So I called bleep Jeff Timmons from 98 Degrees, his wife, and I had a long conversation with her. And everybody's just looking. And then Lisa's like, oh, let me see. I'm just going to take some plates. Lisa's like, God, I thought this was over. Tamra goes, and she sent me the screenshot right here. And she holds up the paper. And Lisa's like, oh, fudge. And Tamra goes, bleep, said Jennifer just started following him. And Heather goes, Jennifer who? And Jenn Pedranti goes, me. And Jen's like, why do you care about that, Tamra? Why do you care about that? And Shannon goes, just keep coming with the evidence. Tamra goes, why did you start following him? And Jenn goes, because you guys have a situation going on. And I heard about it, and she said he was some producer or something. And then all the other ladies leave the kitchen. And Shannon's like, I can't do this. I'm going to make another drink, Shannon says. And then Jenn goes, Gretchen told me, Tamra, about it, like this whole thing with you guys. And Tamra's like, there's no whole thing with us guys. It's a lie. In a talking head, she goes, the fact that Jenn started following him immediately says a lot. If you're my friend, I just wouldn't think to do that. You guys aren't friends. You're co-workers. Tamra tells Jenn, when you're going after people that don't like me all the time and trying to become friends with them, like you did with Gretchen, this situation makes me wonder, like, what are you doing? In a talking head, Jenn says, I was actually hoping that if I followed the guy and he saw my name, maybe he wants to say something. Unfortunately, nothing happened. I followed and nothing happened, she says. I love that she admits it in the talking head, at least. I love it. I mean, she's like playing the game. Tamra says, why did you feel the need at 5:22 p.m. to follow him? And Jenn goes, you know the fucking time? And then outside, Gina goes, oh, look, my salami, my charcuterie tray's still out here. Gina goes, this is fucking nuts. Jenn says, Tamra, I want to move forward. Then you do shit like this that just bugs me so fucking much. And Tamra goes, no, I don't do shit like this. I'm just showing you. I'm asking you. Jenn scoffs. Okay, you feel better, Tamra? Tamra goes, oh, because I printed it out? Oh, are you jealous I have a printer? No, because I printed it out, it's different, right? Jenn goes, you know what? I don't know. I'm going to leave it that you and I do things different, and that's fine. That's fucking fine, Jenn says, and walks off. And Tamra's alone by herself in the kitchen. And a talking head, she goes, I mean, it's always an act with Jenn. She gets caught doing something. She turns it around on you. Like, why do you have to print it out? Why do you have to print it out? Well, because I'm old and I can see it better. Okay, that's some honesty. Outside, Jenn is with the group, and Shannon's like, why did you follow him? And Jenn goes, because I wanted to know what the bleep we're talking about. And Heather goes, yeah, but can't you look without following? Why follow? And Jenn's like, I don't know. I just followed him. He had this whole, and Emily goes, it is a little messy, Jenn. And Jenn goes, I can follow whoever I want to follow. Inside, no, Emily says, she tells in LA she doesn't, wait. Oh, Heather goes inside to check on Tamra, and Emily tells the girls, oh, she tells me in LA that she doesn't trust her, but now she goes in and checks on her. This is the weirdest shit ever. Heather comes into Tamra and goes, I don't know why she followed her, Tamra. I told her that was super shady. Tamra goes, she just went after me. I don't know, Heather. I'm done. And then outside, Shannon can hear this and goes, did you hear Gina? She's going to quit again. Gina goes, oh my God, I can't. I really fucking can't. I can't. Inside, Tamra's doing the cry thing where there's never tears coming out of her eyes. I'm like, I thought we were close. It just hurts my feelings so bad that I just don't even want to be in this group anymore. Splashes water on eyes. Heather goes, I don't trust you with my feelings. Yes, that's true. And our last commercial break. We pick back up and Heather's like, my feelings were hurt too. And as friends, we should be able to talk about this. But you don't want to hear what I have to say. Did you hear about me being a comedian? I auditioned for the Groundlings, No, Tamra goes, no, you don't. You don't want to hear what I have to say. Oh, I heard what you have to say. Tamra goes, and I heard what you have to say. Okay, well, then we don't agree, Heather said. Heather being forced to actually have a confrontation with Tamra. And Tamra goes, you were very, very aggressive, Heather. And Heather goes, I know you think I was aggressive. And Tamra just talks over her. You're going, you did this at the lowest time of my fucking life. You were so aggressive with me. Tamra should not be calling other people aggressive. I mean, that is insane. And it hurt my feelings so bad that I don't even know. And we flash back to 3 weeks earlier after the New Orleans trip where Heather is telling Tamra, I was so worried about you and I wanted to hear from you. And Tamra's like, I didn't get a phone call from you. And Heather goes, excuse me, I called you that night. I spoke to you on FaceTime. You hung up on me. And when I text you, are you okay? Where are you? You know what you do? You text me. You reach out. That is not aggressive. That is actually having a friend be a friend. I'm sorry. In this scene, Heather goes, I don't agree that I was aggressive to you. I sat down with you. I tried to tell you this thing about my dad. You did not want to listen to it. We flash back to a couple weeks earlier where Heather Dubrow is telling Tamra, you remind me a little bit of my dad. In public with our family, he would have like these outbursts. And then Tamra goes, I don't have outbursts in my family in public. It's not at all the same. What are you talking about? And Heather goes, no, I'm trying to explain where I come from. Personalize everything. My God. Heather in a talking head goes, the problem is I tell Tamra my feelings and she gets angry and says, you're wrong. I mean, it's daunting because if I can't be honest with you, how can we be friends? Tamra then goes, Heather, you don't like me. You don't like me. And Heather goes, that is so ridiculous. Oh my God, that is so silly, Tamra. And Tamra goes, you proved it over and over again. And I'm a nothing but fucking nice to you. No tears still coming out of the eyes. No tears alert. And Heather goes, that is ridiculous. And Tamra goes, I'm done. I'm done. Tamra's tagline this season should just be, I'm done. But Heather just goes, come on, Tamra, it is not. In a talking head, the producer asked Tamra, have you ever given these women any reason to not trust you? And Tamra says, I mean, it just makes me sad. Well, you didn't answer that question. It just makes me sad. I know I'm not perfect. I know I'm a good person, she says. I'm not a liar. I'm not a cheater. So for them to say they don't trust me, that feels like an attack on my character. And it makes me just want to shut down. You didn't answer the producer's question. Have you ever given them a reason to not be trusted? So Heather comes back outside to the other ladies. And Shannon's like, I'm ready to go. And everybody's like, yeah, we're all ready to go too. Yeah. And Shannon's like, should we take the cake? And Tamra's like, slowly putting things away in the kitchen. The ladies come in like, do you need help cleaning up? She's like, no, I'm good. And Emily's like, this is a lot to do. You don't want to do this. You don't want, Lisa, the cake lady's in the background trying to pack up her shit. Emily's like, well, are you going to talk? And Tamra goes, the fact that both of you, Emily and Heather, would say that you can't trust me, that's fucked up. And Heather goes, this is a great example. You doing this, constantly quitting, getting so angry over this. And Tamra goes, I'm dealing with the most fucking difficult thing in my life right now, and you are not helping, Heather Dubrow. Outside, Jen's like, oh my God. Shannon goes, did you see this visceral reaction from I don't trust you? Gina is eating and goes, this is a great cookie. I mean, it's a really good cookie. And I got my salami. Great stuff. I love it. Oh, yeah. So this is like just been there, done that with Tamra. They've seen Tamra flip out so many times, it doesn't even like phase them at this point. Back inside, Tamra's like, thank you for being a friend. Thank you. Thank you for understanding too. I appreciate it. Heather's like, I know that you are upset. We should talk about this another time, another episode. And then Tamra goes, sure, have a great season. I'm done. I'm done. Emily and Heather just walk away. And Tamra goes, absolutely done. Absolutely. Hope you're happy with yourself. She should be talking to herself. And now Tamra's like stomping up the stairs. And Emily's like, it's late. We're all here. Our kitchen's a mess. She's upset. We gotta go. We gotta go. I am pissed. Like, none of these ladies took the cake. These were actually nice cakes. They have kids. Like, give these cake to your kids, right? So Tamra's like walking up the stairs, and we hear Heather's voiceover. She just quit again. And she's like, just enough. Just enough. And they're all like, oh, it's my fault. No, it's my fault too, Emily says. She's mad at both of us. And then Shannon goes, and now I'm unprofessional. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So Tamra has quit again. And this is so funny for somebody that's trying to give out suggestions for season 20. Like, dude, I don't want to hear Tamra quitting anymore this season and anymore next season. It's done. You got to find a new way to do your bit. Next time on The Real Housewives of Orange County. And we have Heather doing a cookie benefit for the Trevor Project, which is an amazing foundation. So we have that. We have Shannon. Oh, no. Archie's getting a brother. I think Archie is enough dog. I don't think Shannon needs another dog, but we know she does have another dog. Poor Archie. Archie's the best. Archie's enough. Archie is enough. But Shannon goes, it's a lot of poop. A lot of poop. And then we see Tamra meeting up with Katie Ginella. And they're talking about Slade. And then we see all of the people in cowboy hats. And Jenn Pedranti's talking to Gretchen and Slade. And Jen says, so Tamra met with Katie. She kept saying something about you, Slade. And then Gretchen saying to the ladies, ask Tamra what information she got about Slade. And Shannon's like, wait, what? And then Tamra says, Eddie, let's go. And they walk out, and Gretchen yells, run, bitch, run! Run for your life, bitch! And Eddie flips a bird, and that is the end. So, I don't know. I almost feel like it seems like next week's going to be a good episode, but I've been fooled before. But hopefully we still had some fun today. Oh, God, you guys, I'm tired. I can't wait to get to bed. Thank you for... As always, I get sappy. Every day of the week, but thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting this show and all of us and what we're trying to do, whatever this is. I really appreciate being able to do this. I really, really do, even when it's just talking about Orange County. But have a great weekend. Eat something good. Drink something great. Tell people you love them. Check in with yourself. Listen to the Taylor Swift album. You know what? Sit with things. A lot of people are going to give you their first reactions to the Taylor Swift album, but with any piece of art, sit with it. Let it wash over you over a period of time. You know, like I think we all make the mistakes too often where we will, I don't like that. And then you're like, oh, actually, now a month later, I actually really like that. So normalize that kind of behavior. Anyways, I'll be doing Patreon episodes over the weekend, so join us over there and then come back on Monday for an all-new pop culture roundup. We are done. Bye, guys.